Welcome back, brothers, tourists, and ladies, to another episode of The Chapter House, the Old Glory Club's look into the men who make up the chapters of the Old Glory Club. Joining us this week is the Great Basin Collective out of the great state of Nevada. And representing the great state of Nevada is John C. Calhoun himself, traveling through time to be here with us today. How are you, sir?
Going really well. I'm really pleased to join you guys today.
Yeah, I would have expected you to sound different traveling forward in time as you did, but I guess you're acclimating pretty well, so I appreciate you being here with us. And TLM Nationalist based, how are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Happy to be here.
Oh, thanks. Good to have you guys here. So, when I think of Nevada, the only things that come into my mind are Las Vegas and Reno, which, among other things, means gambling, prostitution, trade shows, and most of all, boomers. I imagine that it's just an endless sea of boomers from the western border of Reno to the southeastern border of Las Vegas. But I don't think either of you are boomers. Is that correct?
Actually, I think you'd be surprised. I do think that there are quite a few boomers, but due to the state makeup and how transitory the state is, like I think most of the people that live in the state are actually not originally from the state. So we don't have as many boomers as you would think.
Yeah, neither of us are boomers.
That's good.
But neither of us are boomers.
I figure the boomers are mostly on the tourist side, but that's interesting. You said that the state is very transient. Do you have are both of you natives to Nevada?
No, actually, I personally moved here for work a few years ago. I was paid to move out here, and most of the people I know personally also did not grow up in the state.
And TLM, is that the same for you?
Yeah, I moved here as well. My wife's family was from the state.
Well, so TLM, that kind of answers the question whether or not you're going to be sticking around. Is that a proper assumption?
Yes.
But Calhoun, how do you find the state? Is there a place that you're looking to put down roots?
I really, really like the state, and I really like my job. However, eventually, probably in 10 years or so, we will be moving back to the southeast, closer to family.
Yeah, that makes sense. No man can have that held against them. Family is important, despite the fact that that's not really in the culture right now. So, if it is all transient, how did the organization come together down there?
Well, the way it really started was most of us reached out to Central with emails saying, hey, we saw what you guys are doing. We would like to start a chapter out here. I had actually spoke to several people in my local area that I know that are friends of mine that are very much in our sphere that I thought would be interested, but they all said, no, I don't have enough time. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So I sent an email to Central, and I kind of waited. I think it was like a good 2 or 3 months. And then I heard back once there were more fish bites, and Central kind of got us all together in a group. And then we ended up meeting out in Reno. And that was kind of how we got started. Kind of a little quick summary.
Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of the time, the chapters are made up of guys who are already friends beforehand, or at least have some familiarity. But is it accurate to say that everybody in the Great Basin Collective didn't know each other prior to joining?
Two of the members did know each other, but the other 3 did not.
Interesting. So how's that been? I mean, I know you guys aren't necessarily very old as far as chapters go, but have you guys been able to spend some time together?
Yeah, we've done a couple outings, mainly dinners, and recently we went to a concert in Reno. that we both that me and some of the other brothers went to that we enjoyed. TLM Nationalist was there as well. So anytime we have an event or one of us is in our neck of the woods or neck of the desert, I should say, we try to make a concerted effort to meet up and do events. But it's very hard since we're kind of spread out across the northern part of the state.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Obviously, Reno is on the kind of extreme western edge of the state, and the rest of the outside of Vegas just seems to be one giant desert. I've never been to Nevada myself. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. There's towns spread across the I-80 corridor that goes across the state, and then there's a few towns sprinkled in between Reno and Vegas, but most of the population, like you said, either resides in Carson, Reno, or Vegas.
Yeah, there's a lot of public lands in Nevada. It is quite extensive. You'll spend hours driving. That's actually one of the things that has made it a little bit easier for me to actually meet up with guys that are like way farther away, is because I'm traveling across the state all the time, like hours in the car, because a bunch of people do, because of how remote some of these areas are.
Yeah, so that means that you guys, do you meet at Reno because it's the closest major city, or is that like a good in-between point for everybody?
We've met a couple times in other, like the littler towns as well. We try to be equitable to our members so that the ones that live on the other side of the state aren't constantly driving, 3+ hours to a meetup. So we try to shake it up, but we have been growing our club recently, and a lot of the new members are from the Reno Tahoe area. So we're looking to split into lodges and kind of go down that route and hold more frequent meetings in the Reno area, as that's probably where the basis of our membership is going to be located going forward, just because of the population density.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I asked this of the New Mexico chapter, and I'm going to ask this of every chapter in a in a highly deserted area. But is the desert spooky?
I don't find it that way. It certainly depends on where you go. There are a lot of areas that are very quiet. It takes a lot to get used to just silence. When I first moved here, that was the big thing for me, was just realizing, oh my gosh, there's nothing between me and these mountains, and there's not a single noise. Sometimes you'll hear coyotes or something. So deafening silence.
Yeah, I don't find the desert very spooky either. I grew up in the backwoods of the Carolinas. I find the backwoods much creepier than the desert. It's serene, it's peaceful, it's nice when it's not like 90 degrees plus outside.
What is spooky?
Go ahead, TLM.
I was going to say, what is spooky is Nevada has a extremely large number of ghost towns. With the mining industry here, you can go out and find quite a few buildings, abandoned entire towns, just in the mountains or out in the middle of the desert.
That sounds pretty cool for exploration, but is that like a hot spot for the homeless?
No. The homeless kind of hang out around Reno, and funny enough, San Francisco actually buses their homeless to Reno. And then we bus them to Salt Lake City, and then Salt Lake City turns around and buses them back.
That is absolutely amazing. I love to hear that California is doing everything it can to share its problems with its neighbors. Very, very thoughtful of them. So what is the, like, every chapter, actually, before we get on that, and this is a complete aside, Calhoun, you said you're from the backwoods of the Carolinas. Are you in the Appalachia region?
I spent a lot of time growing up there. I'm actually from the coast of South Carolina.
Okay, yeah, because I know that the Appalachians are very spooky in their own right. So I guess coming from that kind of spook to something that's a lot quieter, where you can see for miles, is a little bit different. But I don't imagine you guys have experienced wandering through the desert dehydrated. So hopefully that's that's an experience that is very rare.
I have not been dehydrated yet in the desert, but we do spend a lot of time. The great thing about the desert is that you can literally just go out to BLM land and you can shoot, as long as you're like so far away from the town and you don't start a fire. Shooting is free range, so there's a lot of outdoor activities in the state. We have Tahoe, which some of it is in California, some of it's in this great state, and we have plenty of great ski resorts here, plenty of great hunting. It's really an outdoorsman state. It's besides the gambling.
That's why one of the core tenets of our chapter is contributing to conservation in the state, because there's so much public land and so many of us make great use of that. Even in terms of like not just shooting, but you can go like actually shoot really long ranges too. Especially I came from a similar area of the Appalachia region, and yeah, just the expanse of space that you have. Your line of sight is farther than I would see in a year here pretty consistently.
Yeah, I mean, coming from New England, if you're doing long range shooting of any kind, it's usually between two mountains. It's not, and then getting to your target is an affair. But that's really cool. I didn't realize that Nevada had so many state parks. What does conservation look like in the desert?
One of the big things that we have in the state is we have a wild array of wildlife. And so we actually have, I believe it's 3 different species of bighorn sheep. And because it's the desert, the sheep in a time of drought don't have water. So one of the projects that we did recently was there are guzzler builds is what it's called. And you have to go up and build these water collection tanks for times of drought that are on top of mountains that these sheep are on. We also have mountain goats as well. So setting those up on different locations helps contribute to keeping those wildlife populations alive when in the desert you have a drought.
Well, it's great. You said this is a kind of a club activity you guys do?
So yeah, it's limited on who has the availability to do it. But I ended up going to one that was down near Vegas, and they actually had to fly everybody up on top of the mountain in a helicopter. So it was a free helicopter ride too.
Oh, it's really cool. I was going to ask you to describe it. Like, are you hiking the mountain? Are you hoofing the gear up? But it sounds like it's a little bit more modern than that. So is the equipment waiting for you when you get there, or is it more like it goes up with you?
So when I went out there, it was actually, everything was kind of staged, but it wasn't on top of the mountain yet. So you would actually have to load everything up into baskets or nets for the helicopter to pick up, and everyone would was flown up there, couple people at a time, and then they started flying equipment up, and it was quite a hill, and you need a flat surface to put a water tank on. So then they kind of just hand out pickaxes and say get to digging.
Well, that's a hell of an activity. You just you're just doing some backbreaking labor in the desert sun.
Yes,
that's awesome. And is that something you guys have contributed to as a chapter?
Yeah, we wanted to prioritize conservation, and so that was one of the first things that we saw. There was a big need for volunteers on projects like that with the Nevada Department of Wildlife. So and I hope to do more of them in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about Nevada itself, which I guess we've been doing so far. But whenever I think of conservation, across the country, and how much more important it's going to be as we get third world foreigners in the country who just they just don't care about that sort of thing. How has Nevada been handling the Jeet menace?
In the area that I personally live, it hasn't been that much of an issue. Similar to the Tamarack guys, other than the transient population working, for any series of mines across the state, the area is significantly white and some Spanish, California influence as well, but it's especially this area was settled by Basque for a lot. A lot of the generational families are Basque from the mountainous regions in northern Spain. So a lot of Spanish speakers, but yeah, my area is not that bad in that regards. I know that Reno, anytime you travel to a population center like that, it becomes more of a problem. But
So they haven't started spreading out into the smaller towns yet.
They really only go where there's work, and I work in manufacturing, so it's absolutely horrendous. Every day I sit at lunch, I am a minority in my lunch. It's quite jarring. It's one of the things that really woke me up to the issues facing this nation, and it's only gotten worse since I've been here.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's interesting to hear that they're in manufacturing. I imagine they do a lot of the, they're hired for whatever any large company hires them for, basically to do poor IT or like HR tasks.
They actually do engineering. There's a lot of them are engineers, and they get away with it because they can pay them a little less than they would pay those from America. On my team, I think there's only, I would say 20% of the engineers on my team are from America. And I'm not just strictly speaking white. I'm talking about just engineers in general.
So the majority of the people that are working in your company are foreigners.
It feels like that, especially in engineering and management.
Yeah, that's astounding. But again, the story of the country, which seems to be a common refrain on this show. While we're talking about the demographics problem, you'd mentioned the Basque settled it. Would you like to expand a little bit on Nevada history?
So yeah, a lot of the native population in the northern areas of the state came over from the Basque regions because of the similarity to the northern areas of Spain. It's one of the, if not the most mountainous state in the lower 48. So it's always described as a desert, but at least where you've got the Great Basin, which is where our name was inspired from, has a long series of mountain ranges across the state. And so a lot of people were very familiar with that, specifically from Basque areas. And you have a lot of Basque restaurants, etc., across the state, that some of the long-term ranches and such were settled by Basque people in the northern regions. Did you have anything you wanted to add, John?
Yes, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. But as you know, the first settlement in the state was in Genoa, which is, I think it's like an hour and a half south of Reno, and it was for the Overland Trail, and it was settled by Mormons. It's where the state's oldest saloon is, and really what truly started the population boom in the state was really the gold rush, and you have the Comstock lode with Virginia City. Was historically one of the most profitable mines in like the history of the world. If you take, I went on a tour. I've been on a couple tours. They have like a bar in the city, and they like dug into this, like into the side of the mountain, and they actually were able to find like old mining tunnels, and they like reinforced it, and they give a little tour. And the tour guide said there's so many tunnels underneath the city of Virginia, or Virginia City, that you could lay them out straight in a line, and it would literally reach Seattle. So it's a really cool state. Obviously, our moniker Battleborn is because we became a state during the Civil War. And a funny little tidbit about that, there was actually fistfights in the streets of Virginia City, which was the most populous city in the state at the time, between Confederate and Union sympathizers, that the Union actually had to send a detachment out to the Virginia City because they were afraid that that could potentially fall into the wrong hands. So we're a fairly new state. So it's just interesting how much of our history is tied to, immigration to the West from the Overland Trail, and then our mining communities. And now we've morphed into this tourism industry where we have casinos. But yeah, a little bit more tidbits on Virginia City. They found like Levi jeans that have been in these mines since the late 1800s that are perfectly preserved. They found Tabasco bottles, like hot sauce. It's just really interesting. Anywhere you dig in Virginia City, it's just you're guaranteed to find a piece of history. Another fun tidbit is before they developed the process to separate silver out of mud, the mud that they were digging up from this mine, they didn't realize that the blue hue that it had was due to the compounds that had silver in it. So they were literally paving the streets with this mud in Virginia City, and it was just tons and tons of silver in the streets. It's just super interesting how much that played a part, the Civil War and the mining and the history and the founding of the state.
That is interesting. Do you know about when the mines started drying up in Nevada?
I believe it's been multiple. It depends on the area. A lot of the time, they would find a silver or gold strain and then go after it for a great many years, and then when it dried up, the entire town dried up. I've read about a large handful that have anywhere from the early 1900s to the 1940s, 50s, some that dried up in the 60s. But like John was saying, the founding of the state was really tied to the Civil War and became a huge debate in the state at the time. And at the time when it came into the Union, they actually telegraphed the entire state constitution back to Washington. And at the time, it was the most expensive telegraph ever sent.
Yeah, I can imagine that it would take quite a long time. Now, I'd love to hear a little bit more about like Nevada's role in the Civil War. I know that my friend Paul Fahrenheit, I've heard him say that the worst campaign, the worst place to be in the Civil War was in the Southwest.
Oh yeah, from my understanding, there was extensive debate on the subject at the time. It did end up being considered a northern state when it came into the Union. They considered it of the utmost importance that they get it admitted to the Union because they wanted the extra vote for Lincoln, which it didn't end up actually mattering that much, but they were worried about Lincoln's reelection. So there was a push at the founding of the state to make sure that it was going to be a northern state. I don't think that Nevada itself had that much of an industry around any of the hot button items in that conflict, but
No, we were a free territory. There was no slavery allowed. But a big reason of why we became a state was really due to the Comstock load and the mining that was going on, and the amount of metal material that the gold and silver that we were extracting. It played a huge part into why Nevada became a state. If I recall correctly, I don't think we even had the constitutional requirement of the amount of people in the territory to become a state, but they made an exception because of the gold and silver mining that was occurring at Virginia City.
So really, they just wanted the tax revenue. That I mean, I know that that taxes didn't really work the same way then, but that is interesting to know. So I imagine that the state was. I mean, what is the state like now for populace? Is there people out? Are there people outside of the major cities? Like, I know that there are towns all over the place, but how many are actually like highly populated?
very few. Really, the majority. And this was before I had even moved. I was looking at some like voter registration data for the state, and similar to a lot of other states, you've got the big cities and then smaller, more rural areas. The Vegas and Reno contribute most of the population of the state. However, unlike the farther back on the East Coast, where you have just, town after town after town, you'll drive for hours in Nevada, where there will not be very much at all. You can kind of see the edge of towns a lot more than you can back on the East Coast.
They just kind of spring up out of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I mean, so talking about Nevada politically, it's always been well, at least as long as I've been paying attention to this sort of thing, it's been considered a swing state. Is that due to the same effect as everywhere else, where the large cities are very blue and the rest of the state is more red, or is there more of a swing back and forth within the cities?
Well, that the population centers definitely tend to go blue. However, a big contributing factor, I think, on that front is that I believe it's the majority of voters in the state actually are registered as independent. So there is a very large amount of the population that will vote either way, depending on what that candidate is advocating for.
Correct. I would say most of the state is very much, they want to be left alone. Is kind of the vibe that I get. It's the people here are friendly, but it's a different kind of friendliness than like you would say Southern hospitality. It's people kind of just mind their own business and just want to do their own thing. Is a great moniker of how the state really operates. So I think that was also kind of a hard part in starting a chapter as well.
So this kind of wanting to be left alone, does it manifest sort of as kind of a political apathy, or just an apathy on what's going on outside of their own lives?
Both, I would think both. It also does transcend into politics. We have we don't have fairly stringent gun laws. We do have a short waiting period for firearms, but if you have a CCW, they waive the waiting period. Obviously, it's a very libertine state because we have brothels, casinos, legalized marijuana. So it's a very weird mosh of opinions that form the core tenet of the state.
Sorry, you broke up during that last thing that you said.
Oh, I was saying it's a very weird tenet of the state because we have because people want to be left alone, it's very libertine. You know, we have like a lot of casinos, we have gambling, firearm laws are fairly lax, but we also have we have no limit on bars. They can stay open 24/7. Marijuana is also legalized here, so it's just an interesting state. Moving out here from the East Coast and seeing alcohol sold in gas stations like liquor was interesting to me, and then being able to, you know, if I want, I don't, but if you know, if I wanted to purchase marijuana, it's there as well, or a brothel. It's a very interesting state, and the politics play into it.
Yeah, I knew someone that grew up, met someone that grew up here and spent their whole life here, and they said that they didn't know what last call was.
I mean, I'm sure I would have absolutely loved that when I was in my 20s. But I don't think I've seen a last call in a couple of years. So I don't think that's too, it's too relevant anymore. But, yeah, I'd like you to expand a little bit on the kind of wanting to be left alone. Now, you know, our friend Oren McIntyre is very fond of saying that those who wish to be left alone will lose to those who want to, you know, exercise power. And I'm kind of surprised to hear that the state hasn't been basically completely taken over by left-wing agitators. I mean, I imagine that the cities are a little bit further into that process, or are they already completely gone?
I think it's starting, but I would say that you know, there's a lot of big interest here, especially the casinos that throw a lot of money around in elections and try to tamper some of that down as well. But most of the rural areas, at least the people I know from the rural areas, while they might be active in local politics, they seem to just, they don't care. They just want to be left alone. Since the last presidential election, that's shifted a little bit. But like I said, most people I work with, and maybe it's due to the transitory nature of the area that I live in, and people, you know, they come here for work, and then once they've extracted what they want to out of their business, professional business lives, and then they leave. So maybe they just don't feel like they need to invest in the local community. To me, it seems like, at least in my area, that's a driving factor as well. It's just weird. It's not like the Southeast where people are up in everyone's business, like the small towns in the South where everybody knows what everyone's doing. It's a very different culture.
Well, and I think adding to that, some of these smaller towns that are out in the rural areas, it's so much more of a close-knit community that you kind of have to be involved to a certain extent. You know, you meet a handful of people, you know, 2-3 people, and now you know a county commissioner, you know, judge. Like, some of these towns are so small that the community, purely based on existing people, have to be slightly more involved. So I agree with John there. The smaller towns, at least, they care about the local politics, but not really. Other than that, they just want to be left alone. But that's only because they need to be involved in local politics. Otherwise, there wouldn't be anything locally.
So they're kind of checked out even at the state level?
Yeah, the city centers dictate a lot of the state level stuff. But like, now we currently have a Republican governor, which is good, because we saw a lot of overreach, so to speak, during COVID. And so that kind of woke a lot of the people that were more rural up to care about the state politics. So it should be interesting to see how that's all handled going forward, because that was a big wake up for, I know there were some counties that specifically were preventing federal people from entering the state to try and shut down businesses and such, like county sheriffs that were saying, nope, you can't come in, because everyone was upset at that level of intervention. But having the ire to be upset by that is because everyone is involved to a certain extent in their communities. And yeah, I think the reason that they pushed back so hard on that was because they just want to be left alone, like John said.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, and it really says a lot about our current moment that this would surprise me, but that you have an older white man as governor who, doesn't seem to be. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know anything about him, but he doesn't seem to be like a freak.
Yeah, it
No.
depends on how deep you get on the lore on that, I guess. The current governor was actually I believe the sheriff of Clark County during the 2017 music festival shooting in Vegas. So there's a lot of conspiracies surrounding that people in the state like to get into on what's in his background. But
Well, I mean, please. What are the conspiracy theories?
oh well, there just haven't been a lot of clear answers on exactly what that shooting was. It certainly doesn't seem to be.
I'm sorry. I thought you were implying that the governor was somehow involved.
Well, he was the sheriff of Clark County when that happened. So the handling of the investigation into that and the fact that there are so many questions is something that people like to discuss, because he kind of had a clear shot at the governor after that. So the insinuation that I hear a lot of the time is that he coordinated covering it up, what really happened, and he was kind of gifted the governorship for that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as conspiracy theories go, that seems to be pretty mild, and it doesn't really strain credulity at all. That seems like a pretty cut and dry tit for tat there.
Yeah, conspiracy theory at that point is kind of just a disclaimer.
But overall, he hasn't been horrible. Much better than the previous one. So he's just, Vegas is kind of where a lot of things run through in the state. So it is what it is. He seems like a nice guy. He seems it's very interesting. But the interesting part is that the attorney general in the state is a Democrat, and they are running against each other for this upcoming gubernatorial election. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out.
What's the attorney general like?
Don't even get me started. He just horrible. There's been several times where I think they do the average thing where like you have a guy who's like committed multiple crimes and they're just letting him loose again, and then he commits another crime, and then it's a surprise Pikachu. How could we ever know this would happen? Just trying to do bail reform, things like that. It's just what comes with your average Democrat attorney general.
Yeah, I just pulled Aaron Ford. Is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah, I just pulled him up. What is he like? Half black, half Mexican? What's going on there?
Probably.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
I don't know what his ethnicity is. Yeah.
I actually don't know.
Another mystery from the deserts of Nevada. Oh man, I mean that when you see someone like that, a Democrat running for the governorship, you just pray that you never have to look at that face on the television, dictating something to the people of the state.
Nevada also has the kind of core of the government of the state is in where the governor's mansion is and all that kind of stuff. The capital is Carson City, as opposed to Reno or Vegas. So one of the things that the previous governor had done, the one that was so bad during COVID, was he was almost never in Carson City at all. And that was one of the things that the current governor, Joe Lombardo, ran on, was like, I'm going to be in Carson City actually where the government is, as opposed to where all the interest groups are for the state. So he's been a lot better on that front too. But
Yeah, I mean, until you said that, I had no idea what the capital of Nevada is. It, besides that being the seat of government, is it like, what's the relevance of Carson City? I mean, it's very close to Reno, but is it just a small city?
it's fairly small. Like John said, it was kind of where the majority of the state started. So it was a stop along the California Trail. And then the state actually expanded eastward over time, which is very odd. But one of the reasons that it's such a straight line down one side of Nevada is that they continued to expand the state each time they found more gold by another parallel, because it was just eating into the Utah territory. And at the time, the federal government was not very friendly towards the Mormons. And all of the Utah territory was not, it wasn't a state yet. So they continued to expand the state east each time they found more gold, just by another parallel.
And then along with the southern half of our state with Vegas, it really wasn't even a thing until really the 1930s and 40s. Gambling was legalized in the state in the early 1930s, and then by 1946, the Flamingo was on the Strip, and then Vegas kind of started to become known for like a hot spot for gambling. But before that, it didn't even exist really until 1905. So we've had a population boom because of the casinos, and now we're having another population boom because manufacturing is moving to the Reno Tahoe area.
So what caused Reno to become so populous? Was it due to the interstate system?
Mainly due to the Intercontinental Railroad, because it passes, like the OG Intercontinental Railroad passes literally right through Reno. Some of the famous pictures you see, I think there's a famous picture of a guy in the state of Nevada. He's sitting on a cliff and he's looking down into it, and you see the progress of the railroad. That was taken literally like 20 miles from my house. So the railroads, Virginia City, which is the Comstock lode, which I talked about, is literally right up the hill from Reno, or the mountain from Reno. It's like 10 minutes, 20 minutes away through mountain passes. So really the mining and Virginia City really was what brought the population to this area. And then for a time, we had a federal mint in Carson City as well that would mint the gold that was mined, and the gold and silver that was mined in the mine. So really mining was really what started the population in this area of the state.
You can actually go still see that mint. Obviously, it's not producing anything these days, but it's a really cool building, and they have a lot of the equipment for minting coins there still.
They turned it into a museum.
Yeah, I think it's the Museum of Nevada History or something along those lines.
Yes, yeah, it's the Museum of Nevada History.
Interesting. Shifting focus back to the GBC for a moment. What is the demographics like so far of, not just the current membership, but also the people who have expressed interest? I'm talking more, with regards to age.
I think probably the oldest would be 40s, with our youngest member probably early 20s, mid 20s maybe. Most, I think, are late 20s and early to mid 30s. Younger guys with time on their hands, so to speak. We're all very busy, but wanting to take the time to devote to it. Like John mentioned early on, people were a little bit hesitant to try and get it started. So we ended up having guys all the way across the state, or at least the northern part, that connected to really set it up.
Yeah, no, anybody who hasn't, been in leadership of an organization I don't think they quite appreciate how much time it takes to, keep all the gears greased, as it were. And it is very hard for the older guys who would be more interested in doing something like that to kind of get the time away from it, especially because none of us are getting paid. So for your younger guys, how do you help them integrate into the chapter, like taking on responsibility and things like that?
Well, right now we're actually there's a group of younger guys that reached out to us that we're meeting with and potentially bringing in. And again, it's in the Reno Tahoe area, which is where I think most of our membership will be from. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to hold monthly events out in Reno, do service community stuff, do meetups. I'll probably, since I'm more established and these are younger guys, some of them in college, some of them not, I'll probably end up feeding them, trying to help get them network skills, get them interested in really growing roots to where if they choose to stay here since they're so young or leave, that they invest in their local community. So really it's really about meeting up with these guys and trying to take them under our wing and really show them how to be men for the younger members of our club. But most of the members in our club currently are well established. They have good jobs, families.
Yeah, that seems to be an OGC characteristic. It's, I don't think that this organization is quite as interesting to somebody who might be like, the Groypers, who tend to be younger and a little bit less, established in their community. But you guys are really close, especially, well, I know this is relative, but Reno seems to be pretty close to, Northern California. Do you guys have a lot of crossover with the Redwood Society guys?
Yes, actually. I went to me and another of one of our members, our secretary, actually, we went to their local meetup in Sacramento and got to meet their members. And we're actually doing a cross-functional event in Sacramento coming up that we're all looking forward to. And they've expressed interest into coming to Reno and checking the area out and meeting us some more. So we talk with them regularly. I'm in several group chats with them. We're very close with those guys, and they're very solid guys.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, this spirit of fraternity isn't just for the guys in your own chapter. Everyone in the organization is a brother. I'm glad to hear that you guys have such good relations. Now, this Sacramento meetup, is this going to be something open to the club, or is it something a little bit smaller?
It's open to anybody who wants to come, but I'm not sure if people want to come out for just a minor league baseball game. So,
yeah, that might be a bit of a hoof for some guys for baseball. And then similarly, Arizona, have you guys had any contact with them?
So I actually just took over the presidency of the club not too long ago. The former president, he's still in the club, but he had to step down due to some stuff that was happening with his personal life. He went down. How long ago was it, TLM? Was it like a month ago, 2 months ago? He went and met a bunch of the Southwest guys.
Yeah, that was sometime in February.
So we're in a chat with them. We haven't done any real events with them because where we're at, we're all 8 to 9 hours away from that part of from Vegas. So by extension, we're another like 3 or 4 hours from Vegas to those guys.
We have
Yeah,
gotten
I mean,
quite a few people reaching out to the club, though, from the Vegas area. So we do hope to get some guys in and probably do some sort of lodge system to get guys up and going in Vegas, because they have quite a few people that have reached out from that area as well. So
yeah, it's exciting to hear that you guys already have enough interest to start considering the lodge system, and the state being as large as it is, and I'm sure everybody is sick of hearing this, but once you get out of New England, the state's just big. Which also, I'm looking at Nevada on a map, and it's kind of hard for me to gauge the distance in time, because you said you're 8-9 hours. If I traveled that far, I'd be in Canada. So and I'm still pretty far from the border, or at least by New England standards. But let's take a moment here, and we'll take a look at the super chats now that we're back in full swing. Solid Snake 1964 for $3 says, "Evening, gents. Great to finally see a Nevada chapter be spun up. I'm Vegas born and raised, living in Kansas now, but I'll always remember the desert. Hope you guys can beat the heat this summer." And he gives us a salute. Well, salute to you, sir. Look at that. You have an honorary member. I mean, he's not all the way across the country, but he's a couple states away.
yeah.
All right. King Arthur for a very specific $11.83. Salute from the LCS. Soon to be a new chapter, the WLL. Been through the state a few times and have found it enchanting. There's no better honeydew than those grown in Fallon. The county fair is a must visit if possible, just to try their delectable melons. All right. Now, complete ignorance here. Nevada melons? Nevada's known for melons? Is this something
Yes.
you guys are familiarized with?
Well, Fallon is. So Fallon is east of Reno. I want to say an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe around there. It's also where Top Gun is, the Navy's fighter pilot school. So they kind of have a weird rural mix with the Navy base that's out in the middle of the desert. It's a really interesting little community. But yes, they are known for their melons. They also grow onions out there, among some other things. But yeah, I have not been to their county fair yet, but I've heard great things about the melons that are grown out there.
I mean, I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but how, like, are the melons indigenous, or were they brought out there by the settlers?
I would imagine they were brought out. I don't know for certain. And I know that due to, modern advances in agriculture, it's probably made it a lot easier to grow things out there. Yeah,
that makes sense. King Arthur again for $3, which puts him at a suspicious 1483. A note on Virginia City: the silver never dried up. There are still endless millions in silver under those hills. Which he continues with in another super chat for $3. However, there was a major fire that burned down the county office that held all the mining claims, so no one can claim those rights, and mining has been held up ever since. Now that's an interesting bit of lore. So it's just basically bureaucracy that's keeping the mining operations from continuing in Virginia City. Do you guys know anything about that?
I don't. I'm glad that some natives are hopping in the chat to point this out.
I haven't heard that. I'll have to do some research, because that actually sounds really interesting. But I do know that due to the fire and due to some other financial issues, when they did close up the operations there, I'm not sure that the county would allow that mining to proceed now, due to the historic nature of the city.
Well, why would you say that? Just it would bring too many like too many more new people, too much, pollution or whatever?
Probably. That's what I would think.
Well, that's just another one of those strategic reserves that America can sit on, since we seem to have the largest deposit of every natural resource known to man somewhere on the continent. I'm glad that Nevada can stick with the silver.
We also have the Thatcher Pass mine, which is a strip mine. I believe it's 3 hours northwest of Reno. It's like out in the desert, and it's like one of the world's largest lithium deposits in the world. So
right.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I was referencing. I didn't realize it was in Nevada though.
Yeah, it's we have a lot of mining that still happens here. Gypsum, there's a lot of gypsum mining as well. Still a lot of gold and silver mining out east as well.
Interesting. I just assumed that all of that had been tapped, but then again, I'm sure that the national parks, the ones that are sitting right on top of these big mountains, are loaded. Half the reason for the national park system is to protect these natural resources for as long as possible. But that is it for. Oh, that's not it for the super chats. Coming in under the wire, Felix Fairmont for $20. $1 for every time the state's name was wrong. Fallon is the oasis of Nevada, and don't forget the man-eating giants, hearts of gold melon. So, are the man-eating giants a type of melon?
No, there's a lore with the Native Americans here that there was like a race of like 8 or 9 foot red-haired giants that ate people. I completely forgot about that until our club member Felix Fairmont decided to share in the super chat.
Wait. So, I'm sorry. Could you say that again? There are man-eating giants in the lore of Nevada.
Yes. Yeah.
He was Native American, I believe, was the root of that one. And I'll also point out real quick, because he mentioned the state's name was wrong. Native Nevadans will get very upset about it being pronounced Nevada. I said Nevada until I met my wife, and she advised me that I do not say it that way anymore. It's actually pronounced Nevada. So
Nevada.
Glad he pointed that out.
I mean, that's good. You don't want outsiders to be calling your state by its proper pronunciation, because then how are you going to identify the Yankees when they come down there?
True.
I'm sure there's a lot of other ways. All right, guys, that wraps up the super chats, and you get the question that all chapters get. If you could give any piece of unsolicited advice to your brothers, what would it be?
I would say probably the number one thing is just try and make it happen. It can be hard to get things rolling and activities moving and getting people involved, but if you put in work, the result is well worth the work that you put in on the front end.
I second that. I really agree. You can just do things. I think that's kind of the motto, and get together and make an effort. And once you start doing that, the brotherhood and the fraternity that comes with it is worth it. I can talk to these guys about anything. And I know that we have some guys that are closer to Reno now, but I know that even before that, if I really needed something, I could reach out to any of my brothers and that they would help me.
Yeah, amen to that. And it is 2026, and you can just do things. I know that was very much in the parlance in 25, but I don't want that to stop being in people's minds. It's a good motto to adopt. You really can just do things. Well, thank you, Mr. Calhoun. Thank you, TLM Nationalist, for joining us, representing the Great Basin Collective from the state of Nevada. Joining us.
Honored to be here.
It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Of course, guys. Joining us next week is the Painted Sky Society from the neighboring state of Arizona. Be sure to join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. I got it right this time for Pony Express Radio, the finest slop this side of the, well, dissident sphere, I suppose you could call it. And American Spirits every Monday at 9 for the philosophy, for understanding why we're doing this in the first place and why America is worth preserving. All those times, of course, are in Eastern, the best time zone. For the Old Glory Club, I am Not Me, Not You.